the others. With that being said, it's going to be a best of 3 series. The format's going to be 1B, that is Type 1 promos, and then bases and battleships, which means we'll have the bases, the base option, and bases are going to be a little bit stronger in this game with a breeding site, Star Market, Starbase Omega, etc., as well as the Type 1 promos that are the Mega Hauler and the Arc. So there's 2 bombs added to the potential for the deck. So I'm interested to see what that means. I'm going to go ahead and send out the challenge. We'll get the best of 3 started. I'm going to go ahead and turn the sound on, and we're going to get this going. Let's not waste any time. Well, we're going to start out with the cutter. For 3 trade, I'm hoping that I can get one more thing to pop out, but worth noting that it's not worth taking something else for 3. On this board, the game's going to be a tight game no matter what. Me having the cutter doesn't guarantee a win. I have to take it because it's the best card of the options I could take. Imperial Frigate doesn't give me any trade or authority gain at the beginning in comparison to the cutter, and the cutter in that instance is going to be a little bit stronger. Kind of a weird game, actually, that we're starting out. So since we're playing Type 1, we're playing Type 1B. My thoughts right now, for the options that I have here, are varied. As far as the max amount of trade I could put into my deck, I could put 5 trade into my deck by taking the Trade Pod and an Explorer, and that's more than taking just the Patrol Mech or the Space Station. That's not necessarily a better buy, though. The Space Station might be a good choice, just because I know that there's 2 extra bombs in the deck. That's what I'm thinking right now. It's between the Patrol Mech and the Space Station. But then again, the Patrol Mech will stick around for a long time, and if I get another scrap card, then that scrap card's going to go ahead and faction off with that. Unfortunately, it looks like my opponent will be able to take his supply bot, but he is going to lose 1 trade if he does that. So I wouldn't actually be surprised to see him do something similar, maybe the Space Station or the Trade Bot or the Trade Pod and the Explorer. Once again, my opponent jhunsber is a great player, so I look forward to seeing the decisions he's going to make as much as talking through the decisions I make. So that didn't quite pan out. So we have a lot of trade now. We need to make a decision how we're going to build our deck. What I'm looking at here is he has a big trade advantage, but I have the or no, he doesn't have a trade advantage, I'm sorry. Well, he has a trade advantage, but I have the potential for a long deck advantage. So right now I'm winning the long game, but he's going to be able to take Battle Blob or something else. We have green and yellow are the only 2 things here, so if I take a yellow and he takes a yellow, I get the other yellow. Unless he got really lucky and he gets his Freighter plus cards. So I'm going to take the Imperial Frigate in the hopes that I'm able to build into an Empire deck. And then I'm also hoping that soon there's going to be a reveal. So the Patrol Mech's there, but I would assume he's going to take Patrol Mech unless he has enough to take the Battle Blob, and then he might take the Battle Blob and start going for damage. If I can get 2 Patrol Mechs in my deck, I'm going to feel pretty confident that I'll be able to make the game last long enough that I can win. Right now I don't have any scrap in my deck, though. He's the only one with scrap. Alright, so he 5s out, now I'm the one with 6. That's kind of weird that I'm the one with 6 here. The Battle Blob is an option for me, but at the same time, I'm looking at my deck, and my Patrol Mech isn't going to have its ability unless I can do something with the Patrol Mech. So I think my vote is to actually take the defense bot and not take the 8 damage. Would I be disappointed if he got the 8 damage? Yeah. Would I be disappointed if he took the defense bot? Not as, but he's going to move faster. Nah, we take the block. We take the block. Command Ship coming up is not something I wanted to see. That's not a card that I want to see. He has like a 21% or 21% chance, 38% chance. I was just trying to crunch numbers today on this. I think he has a 38% chance of grabbing that command ship. And he got it. So now we're in trouble. Unfortunately, I can't use this for damage. But I certainly can take more damage into my deck. I could also take scrap into my deck. I could take 2 and then go up for 3 on the blob wheel and put that out. Kind of an awkward situation that command ship came up and that he had enough. It's not like I wasn't going to take a ship for the fear of revealing something that he would get, but that's what happened, and there's nothing we can do about that now. I don't really want to lose damage, and I kind of want to scrap to move fast. At this point, I'm behind by 1 scrap, potentially 2. His damage is pretty low, and I might be able just to rush him through. So I'm making a conscious decision right now to play a rush game. For better or worse, I'm making the decision to take... Whoops. Habit. I'm making a decision to take damage. Also, I'm not going to be too involved in the chat, per se, since this is a live match. Just so you guys know. Feel free to actually talk and discuss things in the chat, but I'm not going to be a part of the discussion or conversation until the match is over. And then I can review things that you guys have mentioned, or pointed out, things that were interesting. What's a card that's going to go well with our overall strategy? And our overall strategy is to beat him before he can beat us. You know, as strange as it seems, taking the embassy out is probably a good decision for me. One, it gives him, gosh, the chances of him getting that Mega Hauler are pretty good. So if he is able to take the Mega Hauler, then I'm really in trouble. But I think I need a chance at least to give myself a faction on the cutter. I could also take the blob wheel, but the blob wheel just seems too passive. It seems like I'm just trying to get that 3 Federation. This is an awkward spot to be in after that command ship and seeing the Mega Hauler come up when he has freighter and command ship. I have no idea what his hand looks like, but I know that he has a lot of potential buying power. So before I overthink myself to death, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. You just have to do it. So we have 8, 5, and 10, 18, and 4 for 22. We're cycling 22 damage, and we're healing for 7, which means we have a 29 damage swing. He is pretty close to that. If we can so we're going to have to cycle our deck. If we look at his deck, he's got 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. He has 13. Unfactioned, of course. We're just talking unfactioned. So he has 13 unfactioned damage, and I have 22 unfactioned damage. So I'm ahead in the damage. And then as far as healing is concerned, I have better healing too. He heals for 4. I heal for 7. Every turn guaranteed. So I have the opportunity to make the gap of the game a little bit bigger. What I'm concerned about is if he takes that Mega Hauler. That's the part that I'm kind of nervous about, because he really easily. I don't know what his hand is, obviously, but looking at his cards here, I'm in a lot of trouble. High probability of factioning either red for 2 scrap or blue for a ship on top, and that ship on top likely being the Mega Hauler, especially gets command ship for draw 2, which would mean you would have all these cards but one of them. So you can pick any of these cards that would be the one. Oh, there it is. So he does get Mega Hauler onto the top of his deck. Our goal now is to leave him, is just to not leave him a ship. It's going to be a weird game. It looks like I might get a little lucky in giving him a pretty strong anti hand with a couple discards. My only 2 discards hitting each other. The breeding site will be really good if I can snag a Fortress Oblivion with it. If I can get that Fortress Oblivion, I have this outside chance to do some damage. He's going to probably take the Fortress Oblivion or the blob wheel or the junkyard. He does have that defense spot. He'll want to trigger that. So that's 2. He's got 2 scrap plus. He's got the big scrap advantage. I kind of made that decision though, right? Like that was my strategic decision in the moment, was to say I'm not going to go this thing that I could, but I'm not going to. We'll see. Not an easy game for me. I have to win against 2 bombs. Very unfortunate that command ship came up. I don't think enough people voted against this game being decided by bombs. But then again, I am now really excited that I took the battle blob, because the battle blob is going to be potentially my only chance as this game continues. Being able to cycle that much damage is pretty good. So he's taking 2 more bases. Oh my goodness. This isn't going well. We need to. I can't be too passive here. We have to do damage. He's got a scrap in 4, 5, 6, and 7. Scrap in 4, 5, 6, 7. Scrap in 4, 5, 6, 7. Who's that? A WEG76? Thanks for the follow, man. A WEG76. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. So we're in a tight spot. Also, we just bottom decked our Imperial frigate, so we don't get 2 discard. He has 7 buying power. He'll probably take the port of call. What am I supposed to do about it? There's nothing I can do about it. I don't see him taking the recycling station. He could, but he has so much power to take. Wow, he did. I didn't see him doing that. We're in prayer mode at this point. So I take the other Imperial frigate here. I'm not going to take an Explorer. I have other cards I need to show up in my deck. Not taking the trade pod. I have other cards I need to show up in my deck. And then we're sacking out, and we're trying to do a suicide run. So you can see that when somebody gets, so even though I calculated out the damage, right? I calculated out with command ship, freighter. What else did he have? He had the supply bot and the patrol mech. That he didn't have a lot of damage. The power of drawing 2 cards on the same turn is insane. It's absolutely insane. It's crazy. So that draw alone has gotten him Mega Hauler, Mega Mech, Space Station, Defense Bot, Recycling Station, and Hive. And the time it took me to get Imperial Frigate, Breeding Site, another Imperial Frigate, and Fortress Oblivion. So I got 2 bases and 2 frigates, or 2 bases and 1 frigate, right? Yeah, because I only took 1 frigate. I took the other one at the beginning of the game. So I got 1 frigate and 2 bases in the time that he got his whole deck, essentially. Defense bot triggering. I always like to see that. We have to draw, and we got nothing as a result. So in this first game, we're certainly up against the rails here. We're feeling the pressure. We're feeling the pressure. This is going to be tough. Once again, habit getting out of the game. You need to stay in the game. Yeah. We're gonna probably have to see what happens in the second game. That Mega Hauler command ship coming up and me being unable to do anything about it is pretty rough. And so if we look back on what we could have done, could we have done something different? I'm not entirely sure. I'm looking back on that and I'm seeing maybe we take the space station in hopes that we get one. I remember talking about that at the beginning of the game. I could take the space station and then potentially scrap the space station and try to get a bomb because we're playing year 1. And chances are pretty good that there will be a bomb that eventually comes up in the form of Brain World, Command Ship, Arc, Mega Hauler. But didn't happen. Didn't take that. Instead, we decided to go for the damage. He's going to heal for 9, if I see this correctly. Yeah, he'll heal. Let's see what he does. Probably game at this point. He just needs 10, right? He just needs 10. Oh, he didn't get it. Okay. Nope. So he needs 4 damage, which he certainly has. I'm not going to steal my opponent's thunder. I will let him do the finishing blow, but I certainly will try to make it look close. So, that's going to be game number 1. Kind of curious. Kind of curious. I hope game room 2 is a little bit better. So I went for that damage early. When I went in on that strategy, perhaps the better option would have been to take the defense spot and not go for damage. Of course, hindsight's always 20/20. I don't think I actually made the wrong play. I just think my strategy didn't work against his. And when you have Freighter, which is such a good card, you can take almost anything, right? So that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough. It's certainly well played by jhunsber. Game number 2. Game number 2. We're gonna make this one a little bit better. We're gonna make this one a little bit better. We start out with 5. That's already a good start. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a problem. Because we have the potential of losing economy here on the first buy. I personally like the trade wheel, but the trade wheel is not going to get me a big card. I also like the barter world, but considering he took missile bot, he'll be able to take it out. We're going to take the blob wheel. We get fortunate that a trade bot came up. He'll have 4 or 5, and thus will be unable to take the trade wheel and the barter world. He'll take the trade wheel because if he takes the trade wheel, that's hate drafting against me. He knows I only have 3 scouts in my deck, so if he takes trade wheel, I can't take trade wheel, and I have to take Merc Cruiser, survey ship, something else. He didn't do that thing that I just said that I thought he would do. So maybe a slight opening for us to take the trade wheel, to get a couple damage, and hopefully take out the barter world. The only issue is he's also noticing that I don't have damage, so now I have to make a different decision. Do I leave him the barter world and 2 extra trade every single time? Can I do that? That's it. When we're making decisions here, you have to, like, I can't leave his barter world up. 4 health. Man, it feels really good to take the trade wheel, but my trade wheel and blob wheel need to come out at the same time, and I need a Viper. I'm asking for 3 variables in my deck, or 3 variables in play at the same time. So let's play this. Let's play this textbook. We're gonna play it textbook. We're gonna play it in a way that says, you have a base. I need damage to kill your base. That's it. Merc Cruiser comes up. If he gets his base out, we can kill it, but now we're also hoping that he gets his base out. Now we have another awkward situation where we have to make a decision about how to spend our monies. Now he's also taken a base, so I kind of want to fight base of base. He took the fighter base because he's going to be able to take these survey ships, and the survey ships are going to trigger the discard on the base. We are going to be unable to scrap this first time around. We're going to put damage through, and I'm going to take a trade wheel. Seeing the Blob Destroyer come is kind of interesting. He'll be able to take the Blob Destroyer if he wants it. I would assume he would. The only other option he might take the Patrol Mech instead. To faction off with his missile bot, but the Blob Destroyer for 4 getting 6 damage is pretty hard to beat. Considering I have 2 blob bases as well, it might be a little suicidal for him to leave the Blob Destroyer out there for me to take, especially considering that he's taken 2 bases already. The clear decision, in my opinion, at this point would be for him to take the Blob Destroyer, just because he can't allow me to have it. If he gives it to me, he concedes the entire momentum of game number 2. I don't think he can do that. Worth noting that everything I'm saying is certainly my opinion of strategy and what I think is good. Oh. So now it would behoove me to re-hate draft the Mega Mech. But to do so, I have to get rid of the blob wheel. And I'd rather not get rid of the blob wheel. What I would rather do is take the patrol mech. And the patrol mech is also going to activate. The patrol mech is going to activate as a second scrap because I have 2 other cards that can trigger it. So I have a really good chance of scrapping with it. Now he could take the blob wheel as well, and if he takes the blob wheel, he's given himself an opportunity to hit the blob destroyer. But I've intentionally left the blob wheel on the board because if he does take it, he's taking a card that might not do him any good later in the game, and not taking one of these Star Empire cards that he wanted to take to trigger his fighter base, but cannot take anymore. So I'm curious. I'm curious to what he will do. He has a fighter base he wants to trigger later. He has to wait his whole deck to do so. The Mega Mech, he has 2 bases. Mega Mech's a good call for 2 bases plus it's 6 damage. And I have 2 bases as well. Blob Wheel is the only way he can faction off the Blob Destroyer that he just took. So really, the options are all on the table for him. I think the Mega Mech seems to be the best decision, but as far as his deck synergy, what does he want to do? That's the question. Took the Blob Wheel. Okay, cool. So, what does that leave us with? It leaves us with the Blob Fighter for sure, considering we have 2 Blob bases. The Blob Wheels or the Blob Fighter almost seems necessary. I don't really see a situation where I don't take the Blob Wheel there. And considering that he did take the Blob Wheel for himself, he's only going to be purchasing. He's gonna get Mega Mech. Almost certainly he'll get Mega Mech. I think we take the Explorer to get 1 more purchase on the next hand after he reveals after taking Mega Mech. Right? Or the Imperial Fighter. Imperial Fighter is a hate draft, so it doesn't trigger off of his fighter base, but at the same time, like, I want him to take that card. I want him to take the Imperial Fighter. I want him to reveal something better in that spot. Thank goodness we'll get a base out. That'll be really nice. The only issue that I see coming up is that our Patrol Mech and our Trade Bot were bottom decked, and we're going to draw them first into our next hand. And if we're going to use them to scrap, we have to scrap cards right out of our hand. That's a little frustrating. That's a little frustrating. He did take it, and he did reveal something better. We have to take the Battle Barge because of our fight for bases. That was a pretty easy decision. The issue right here is, what do I scrap? There's nothing else I could take. Battle Station's too passive, too weak. I'd rather keep taking the Battle Station at this point. I need the damage. I'd rather him take another base than take more base manipulation. He already has the Mega Mech. Now we have a tough decision. Now the Battle Station doesn't look so bad. But I think we have to thin out our deck. We have to scrap 2 here. I can't. It's frustrating, but the other frustrating thing here, kind of frustrating, is that I'm going to be unable to take... I'll be unable to take the Star Market, and I'll have to take the Battle Station. Jeez, he has so much damage. This game almost seems over, right? Let's not give up too quickly. Barter World's been out too long, so I have to destroy it, right? Like, I have to destroy it. So we get 2 and 3. Man, this is a bummer. This is a really big bummer. He doesn't have a lot of trade, so I guess that's the only good thing here for me. Do I want to take the battle station? I think I have to take the battle station. So we'll scrap one scout. We'll scrap a Viper. I want to leave myself just enough for the battle station. Because later we're going to need to slow the deck down. He's going to have the option to maybe destroy. Look at that deck. That's pretty brutal. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. 18 damage. And what do we have here? 5? 18 and 5? 23. So he's cycling 23 damage with the potential for 5 more for 28. Factioned for 4 more. So 32 maximum damage potential in his deck. My maximum damage potential for 9, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 10, 29, 30, 31. 31. So our maximum damage potential, that's like sacrificing bases. That's going all the way to the threshold, is very comparable. That's surprising. I didn't think it would be that comparable. Defense. He has 5 defense. I have 5 defense. So same defense, same amount of bases. He keyed off his 2. Jeez, this is brutal. We'll take the star market. We'll scrap the explorer out just so we can reduce our deck, thin our deck out. He's going to be able to bounce one of his bases. It doesn't look like it'll matter. He'll be able to get 1 extra damage out of the blob wheel, which is what he'll do. The question is, what will he get after that, right? This game will be closer than I think it seems like it'll be. It's going to come down to the wire on a big combo probably. So far, I haven't had to discard any important cards, and I haven't missed out on a bomb that I wanted to get. I have a pretty good deck, a pretty tight deck. That's 5. Defense spot. 3 won't get us anything. We're going to leave the base out. Oh man, these draws. So I drew the battle barge and the defense spot in my next deck, or my next hand. Both these cards need 2 bases to get their full potential, and I have 1 base in play. I have 3 other bases in my deck, and I drew both my base manipulation cards with only 1 base that will probably be destroyed next time. That's some bummer luck. That's some bummer luck. Doesn't mean we lost. Doesn't mean we lost. Certainly does not mean we lost. But that's a bummer. We'll be able to make him discard. We'll be able to scrap another card out of our hand. The blob wheel will probably be gone, so that's adding 5 health to us essentially. If he doesn't get rid of it, he's kind of gambling. I don't have the blob fighter or the trade wheel in my deck, and that seems like an improper gamble. But if he did gamble, he would be correct in gambling that I don't have them, if he did make that decision. I'm at 20 health, so I think he has enough to kill me in this deck overall. He has enough. So once he goes through this deck, he has enough to kill me, which means I need to be able to stymie the amount of damage that he's going to have coming at me. 6 and 5 is 11, and 5 is 16, 17, 18, and 6. Interesting. I expected him to go a little more all in there. I'm not taking the Explorer because I have other cards I want to come up. So there's a lot of nice cards. Now the question is, can we get those cards to come up before he kills us? I expected a little more all in. I'm kind of surprised in that instance. I think he clearly has the upper hand in this game, but he could have sacrificed his Battlecruiser and his Barter World. But he didn't. How's Lady Luck? Does she feel generous? We have a 10-point swing in our next deck, but look at this deck. That's not, or this hand. Sorry, this hand. This hand is a pretty mediocre hand to have come up right now at the end of the game. My base manipulation didn't work out. I put damage on my deck early, but that didn't really pan out as much as I would have wanted it to. Wow, that was a quick series. Jeez. Great games. Well played by Mr. jhunsber. Man.